Yes, they met. Yes, that was against William's wishes, but there was no sense that I'm getting that Charles laid out the red carpet for Harry.
She was the villain. She was the third person in the marriage. She needed to rehabilitate her image.
Prince Harry finally got his long-awaited sit-down with King Charles, but it wasn't the royal reconciliation he hoped for.
This meeting actually went for a much shorter period than what the rest of the mainstream media is reporting. Harry, who ended up apologizing to the king, not the other way round.
Instead of walking out with warmth, promises, or even a photo op, Harry left Clarence House looking defeated, empty-handed, and instantly roasted by the internet.
I'll tell you the real reason. It's all a PR stunt.
The feud between William and Harry is as bitter as ever. William, at one point, within 7 miles of his brother, so near and yet so far, refusing to see him.
They know that once King William is King William, that they're done, that they're completely cut off.
What was billed as a 55-minute private tea turned into a cold exchange that insiders say lasted barely 20 minutes. And the fallout? Brutal. Memes painted Harry as the prince who came for crowns but left with crumbs, while Charles looked every inch the steady monarch. But behind the jokes lies a bigger truth.
Yes, they met, but King Charles gave Harry the cold shoulder with no special treatment.
This is the sort of meeting that the king does with strangers. It's not the meeting that he does with loved ones.
This meeting may have just sealed Harry's royal fate. The headlines said Prince Harry finally reunited with his father for nearly an hour, but insiders tell a very different story.
This man, I think, will be asking Dad for a little bit more money very, very quickly. I only see bad things on the horizon. Harry is really, really deep in trouble at the moment, even financially. I mean, we know that Meghan's Jam failed to sell out. Her season 2 of her cooking show was an absolute disaster.
Yes, Harry was ushered into Clarence House. Yes, there was tea on the table, but the so-called royal peace talk barely scratched 20 minutes of real conversation. The rest was formalities, security checks, and an atmosphere so stiff it could have been mistaken for a business meeting. To the public, that short window said everything. This wasn't a warm father-son reunion. It was a formality, a polite gesture, nothing more, and people online wasted no time twisting the knife.
And it's all about trust. There is no trust when it comes to Prince Harry.
His meeting with the king, I agree. I think that it was a symbolic gesture to say, hey, I'm back in with the royal family public. Don't take me for a fool. But no one's falling for it.
Memes flooded social media comparing the gathering to a dentist appointment, except you usually leave the dentist with a free toothbrush. Others mocked it as a speed date gone wrong, or the shortest comeback tour in history.
But he's been on this huge charm offensive. You know, here I am, you know, this charity, I like a great guy. Oh, look at me sword fighting with this kid. It's classic sort of royal visit stuff.
Tom Sykes of the Daily Beast said, you know, was that a settlement meeting? Does Prince Harry want to see his dad to say, what can I get out of you before I lose the opportunity?
For Harry, who flew across the Atlantic chasing reconciliation, walking away with nothing but awkward silence was more than just disappointing.
He's trying to get back in with the king because he knows he'll never be able to get back in with William. That's never going to happen. So once that door is closed and unfortunately the king passes, I don't think there's any chance of him getting back into the fold.
It was humiliating. But if the meeting with his father felt cold, the silence from Prince William spoke volumes. William was reportedly just 7 miles away from Clarence House during Harry's visit, yet he made no attempt to see his younger brother. For many, that distance said more than any palace statement ever could. The image was symbolic. 2 brothers raised under the same roof, now separated by walls of resentment and mistrust. And while Charles at least agreed to sit at the table, William's refusal was a deliberate message. The feud isn't softening, it's hardening. Commentators pointed out that William isn't playing games. He knows reconciliation could make him look weak, and he has no intention of being dragged into Harry's cycle of drama. Public opinion was brutal. So near, yet so far. One viral post read, comparing the brothers' standoff to estranged neighbors pretending not to notice each other at the mailbox. And yet, as icy as William's rejection looked, it was what Harry did once he finally got his moment with the king that left even royal insiders stunned. When Harry finally sat down with his father, it wasn't just about tea and pleasantries. According to multiple reports, he came armed with an agenda that raised more eyebrows than sympathy. The list? Financial support, official titles for his children, taxpayer-funded security, and even coverage for mounting legal costs. To critics, it didn't look like reconciliation. It looked like negotiation. Some compared it to pitching on Shark Tank, except instead of investors, he was asking his father, the king, to bankroll his future. Social media had a field day. One viral joke quipped that Harry's list was less about crowns and more about coupons, while another mocked it as showing up at a family dinner and demanding Wi-Fi passwords, car keys, and cash before dessert. Supporters argued he was fighting for his family, but even that defense fell flat as memes painted him as desperate, out of touch, and still leaning on the very institution he'd loudly rejected. What was meant to be a plea for security and recognition quickly spiraled into another PR disaster, and the king's response made it sting even worse. Charles's reaction to Harry's wish list was as icy as the marble halls of Clarence House. Insiders say he listened politely, nodded occasionally, but offered nothing. Not a promise, not even a hint of compromise. Instead of speaking as a father, he leaned fully into his role as monarch, hiding behind protocol like armor. Witnesses described his tone as calm, measured, and completely unyielding, the kind of silence that says more than words ever could. And then there was Camilla. Her presence at the table changed everything. For Harry, who has openly criticized her in the past, it was like walking into a negotiation only to discover the one person you least wanted in the room was running the meeting. Commentators joked that Charles wasn't dad in the living room, he was CEO in the boardroom with Camilla as his enforcer. Online reactions roasted the vibe as royal HR rejecting your request or policy is policy, no exceptions. It was the kind of response that left Harry cornered, unheard, and powerless. And when the tea ended, his exit would say what words never could. When the conversation finally fizzled out, Harry's exit became the real headline. No warm handshake, no smiling photos, not even a polite wave, just a quick, stiff walk out of Clarence House that felt more like a fire drill than a family reunion. Onlookers described his pace as clipped, his expression tense, and the silence deafening. The images told the story. King Charles later pictured calm and composed, while Harry looked frustrated, cornered, and humiliated. Social media wasted no time. Memes compared him to a student storming out of detention, or someone leaving a group project after doing all the work but getting no credit. One viral post dubbed it the shortest royal comeback tour in history. Another compared the 55-minute meeting to a dentist appointment, except at least at the dentist, you get a free toothbrush on your way out. For Harry, who had crossed the Atlantic hoping for reconciliation, the optics were brutal. Instead of headlines about healing, he walked straight into another PR disaster. And the damage didn't stop with him, because the ripple effect quickly splashed onto Meghan and their entire brand. Harry may have left Clarence House alone, but the fallout didn't stop at him. It hit Meghan, and by extension, their entire brand. For years, the Sussex name has been their currency. Netflix, Spotify, book deals, interviews, all built on one thing: access to the royal orbit. But after this failed meeting, critics warned that access is exactly what they're losing. Without fresh ties to the palace, their storyline risks going stale. Public opinion put it bluntly: no palace, no plot. Memes piled on, mocking their content deals as a reality show with no drama, like watching Survivor, where everyone politely shares coconuts. Industry insiders whispered that Meghan now faces pressure to manufacture the next big headline, whether through carefully managed interviews, strategic leaks, or new projects designed to keep them relevant. And that's the harsh truth. Every frosty refusal from the royals makes it harder to package the Sussexes as insiders. Instead of looking powerful, they look excluded. Instead of breaking ground, they look like outsiders scrambling to stay in the spotlight. And that's why this meeting wasn't just about family. It was about business, power, and survival. What became clear from Clarence House is that the monarchy doesn't fight in the open, it plays the long game. While Harry came in fast, armed with demands and expectations, Charles barely moved. He didn't raise his voice, he didn't argue. He simply let protocol do the talking. It was monarchy mode at its coldest. Commentators compared it to a chess match. Harry lunging forward with multiple moves at once, while Charles sat back like a grandmaster, making only the smallest gestures but still trapping his opponent. To the public, it looked like a clash of strategies, one man desperate to win ground quickly, the other relying on centuries of tradition to slowly suffocate the momentum. Viral posts summed it up brutally. You can't out-dram an institution that's perfected drama for centuries. And that's why this moment stings so deeply. Harry wasn't just facing his father. He was facing an institution that knows exactly how to strip emotion out of the picture and let optics do the work. The monarchy thrives on silence, while Harry thrives on headlines. And in this battle, silence proved louder. But the real question is, when history looks back, whose legacy will this moment define? But when the dust settles, what people will remember isn't the tea, the biscuits, or even the awkward silence inside Clarence house. It's the optics. Decades from now, documentaries won't replay the menu. They'll replay the image of Harry walking out empty-handed while Charles sat firm. For the king, this meeting folds neatly into his legacy as a monarch who chose duty over drama. He looked steady, composed, and in control. For Harry, critics warn it risks being etched into history as yet another chapter of frustration, rejection, and failed comebacks. Some sympathize, painting him as the underdog fighting for recognition against a centuries-old institution. Others see him as the royal who walked away from privilege only to spend years trying, ice, and failing, to claw back into the fold. Viral posts summed it up harshly. History won't remember the 55 minutes. It'll remember the empty exit. And that's where the sting lies. Legacy isn't built in hours, it's built in moments. And this moment may follow Harry for the rest of his life, because when the crown reminded him who controls the narrative, the world saw it. The question now isn't whether Harry lost this round, it's whether he's already lost the whole game. So here's where we're left. Prince Harry walked into Clarence house carrying hope, a wish list, and maybe a plan for reconciliation. 55 minutes later, he walked out with nothing. No promises, no security, no titles, not even a palace statement to soften the blow. Meanwhile, King Charles projected calm authority while Harry looked frustrated and isolated. The optics were brutal. One man appeared steady and untouchable. The other looked like he'd just lost another round in a fight he can't win. And that's why the question now isn't about tea and biscuits, it's about survival. Is Harry still fighting for his family? Or is he fighting a battle that ended the moment he walked away from the palace gates? But if you thought this was dramatic, just wait, because Meghan's name is already back in the headlines, and her next move may decide whether the Sussex brand can survive or collapse under the weight of its own scandals. Trust me, that's a story you don't want to miss.